What is going on, everyone? This is NinjaGeek here, and today we got some Black Ops 2 for the background gameplay here. I thought it was very relevant to what I'm going to be talking about in this commentary, just playing with some friends on Black Ops 2. I don't really play zombies a lot. It is fun. It's a fun game mode that Treyarch made in World at War as a side game mode, and, well, look at us now. It's here in Black Ops 3. I just happened to play some Black Ops 2 with this gameplay. It's pretty old, but, I figure I'd throw it on there because I don't really have some Black Ops 3 gameplay of zombies. I played it a couple times, but it's not like, oh, I play it all the time, so that's why there's some Black Ops 2 gameplay, but this is a really good map, so hope you do all enjoy that, and I'm going to be talking about what would happen if the zombie apocalypse happened, but it's not going to be in a generic form. It's not going to be like, oh, what would happen as a whole society, like, oh, this would happen for every single person, and this would happen for this town, or country, or, state. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about a personal, like, what would I do, not as a generic society. But also, I want to hear your guys' thoughts as to what you would do, because there are different areas that people live in. So if you live in, like, Georgia, like where The Walking Dead takes place, I guess you can say there's a lot more open areas versus I live in Connecticut, so there's not really a lot, I guess you could say, here. So that's why I'm going to be going over what I would do, but I really want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below as to what you would specifically do. Just some generic stuff. You don't got to go on and write an entire essay. So anyways, no matter what the phenomenon of this situation is, where I find out personally myself, or I find out by someone telling me, whatever it is, what the first thing I would do is I would obviously be in my house. I mean, I could be outside of my house, but let's say for all intents and purposes I'm inside. I would grab a knife, because I own several knives, and, rally up my family. Most importantly, rally up some food, because you're going to need that, and get in contact with my friends, basically. I don't know if the internet has been down at this point or not. It's way too close, so it might still be up for contact. So I would get in contact with them and try and figure something out about where they are and how we can meet up, for say. So what I would honestly do, I would probably either stay in my house. I probably wouldn't feel comfortable going out, but if I had to, I would gather all of my knives together, all the food together. I would obviously get my crossbow in there. I'd put that on a car and go, or friends would come over my house, so we would stay here for a few days just to kind of gather everything that we have together. And at that point, from there, where would I honestly go? That's the biggest question, because a lot of people really don't have a planned set to go or a place to go, and that's what ends up happening lots of the times. You have all the supplies you need, except, like, oh, now where are we going to go? Now, lots of people in this situation would probably go to a grocery store because it has lots of food and they want to get the food first. Well, number one reason why I wouldn't go there, at least first, is because of the crowds that are just going to be there. There's going to be an insane amount of crowds, not even talking about zombies at all. There's just going to be crowds going there because everyone needs food to survive, so there's going to be a mass amount of people there. And if the case was that zombies were in the area, which most likely will happen anyways, it's just going to be a complete madhouse, so I would not go there first. But after the fact of waiting a few days to try and get everything together and protect our own in our own house, I would obviously gather everything together, which we already have gathered together, hopefully, unless we're lazy, put that in our vehicles, and we would all head out as a team. I would then, people say, oh, I wouldn't go to a grocery store at all or someplace like that, because it's just going to be complete chaos even after the fact, because it's probably infested, but you're going to have to risk it. Obviously, if you go there and you see, like, it's infested, you would not want to go in there, because you're just going to end up killing yourself, and that's not a smart human choice, but you're going to have to at least check it out to see what you can do. So let's just say the case is that it doesn't look infested from the outside, there's pretty much no one around. I would then go in, risk it for myself, but if there's a lot of them, as soon as we open the door, we book it, but if there's not, we gather the food together, or whatever there happens to be, and then we head out. And the next place, obviously, you don't want to stay at a grocery store, because there could be other human encounters, which is even probably worse than zombie encounters, just because people are going to fight over lots of things. But the next place that I would try and look for or go to is probably the town hall, because at this point, we don't know if the internet is up or down or not. And you could probably check it on your phones if you bring your phone. But at this point, you're not going to really be relying on that. So I would go to my own town hall, get a map of the entire area of, you could probably find a map of Connecticut in there, I'm assuming, which is where I live, like I said again. But you could probably find in each of your own town halls, like the state that you live in. So you just get a map from somewhere, learn the locations of different things. You try and hide out, find a certain location. And the location that I would find is a prison, a big one, like sort of like in The Walking Dead, how they had the prison. Now, obviously, the prison got overrun, but the only reason why it did was because the governor stormed in there and just completely annihilated what was left of the prison, so the rest of the group of Rick's group had to leave. Well, the prison would have still been up if that did not happen, so if you don't encounter people, a prison is pretty much the best place to go. Now, not like a small town prison, but I'm talking about like the major city prisons that are probably larger and bigger, so that's where I would probably head first. After, obviously, I check out some small places to scavenge other supplies after a couple days of waiting. But then, I would obviously go to a prison of some sort because it's pretty much locked up. There's not going to be lots of people there anyways. I mean, maybe you'd have to obviously clear it out because there could be people in the cells. But even then, why would they, if they're locked up, they probably would be safe. So you'd have some more survivors if they are nice, but you don't know if you could really trust anyone. And at that point, I would stay at that prison until pretty much further notice. And then after that, I would just do as planned. But the thing that you don't want to do is people would probably say, oh, I could just sit in my basement and I'll be fine. That's probably what people are going to do because they're going to be scared. However, that's a bad decision because you don't have food down there. I mean, maybe you have stockpiles of food, but it's not going to last you forever. So eventually you're going to come out of your basement, and being down there for so long is just going to be not a great thing because you're going to just go insane just sitting down there all the time doing nothing. I mean, you could come out of your house, but still that's just dangerous. There's no protection. So one house is not going to protect you enough, obviously, for a few days before everything is going to go down with your group and whatever. After you rally everyone up, you're going to want to stay there. But, however, over time, you're not going to just say, oh, I'll just guard my home forever, and that's going to be it. You're obviously going to want to disperse out. And so that's why I would choose a prison. But let me know the place that you would choose after everything has happened, after you're trying to settle down for the first time and gather your entire group together. Plus the fact that my friend has loads and loads of guns in real life, which is a good thing in the zombie apocalypse because that's what you want, loads of ammunition. I have my crossbows, lots of knives. And I think that we'd be able to take on the zombies no matter what the case is. But obviously, if you're in a shitty location, it's just not going to work out. So after a prison, I guess you could say, if whatever the case happens to be, it probably would not get overrun. But let's just say it did. There's not really many places in Connecticut. There are some farms, but it's not like there's a lot of open land here in Connecticut like there is in, say, down south, like Georgia or something like that. So we have a lot of close quarter spaces. So I would either probably try and head down south after that, maybe even sooner anyways. Maybe I'll just stay in the prison for like a month to just kind of stay there. But definitely open spaces like there is in Georgia and down south areas like that. Louisiana, all those places down south are probably better because there's a lot more open space, so there's probably buildings that are just way more protected. There's a lot more farmland down there, especially in Georgia where the Rick's group obviously kind of took over the prison there, and there was just a lot of open land. Our prison up here would not probably have a lot of land to it. It would just be protected a lot, but it probably would not be a lot. Now, the thing about a prison, though, in here is probably the big prisons are going to be in the major cities, and obviously they are probably going to issue a warning or a call to go to the major cities, sort of like they did when in The Walking Dead when Atlanta had the admission to go there, so people were traveling there, and it would just be a complete chaos because Atlanta was completely overrun. So that would also be an issue with trying to get into a prison like that. So if anything, if that is the case, I would head there, see what it's like, and if it's really bad, just completely turn around and head back and try and find a local prison where we could just kind of stay for that point. But a prison is a great spot because there's a lot of locked areas within there that you can just stay in. Obviously, you would have your scavenged food with you from your own house, as well as if you were able to get into the grocery stores around. So I think that all that combined, a prison is just going to be the best place. Obviously, now we look at prisons like, oh, that's just a terrible place to go, but for a zombie apocalypse, it's one of the best places to go. But obviously, different states offer different areas, like I mentioned before, so there could be someplace else, and I would love to hear your story and what you would do, what friends you would have to come together. Maybe you just don't have anyone with lots of defense, like weapons of any kind, and that's just going to be a problem, and you're going to have to scavenge more. But luckily for myself, I have somewhat of major weaponry, especially with my friend. And if we get together, which would most likely be the case, hopefully we would, then I think that that would go over pretty well. No matter where we are always going to be protected. So yeah, that's basically it on that, but let me know your story down below, and I'll catch you on the next video. This is NinjaGeek. I'm out. And peace.